In last week's episode, I did a little reflection on the podcast, you guys, and where I see it going into 2025. If you want to hear what's in store for the new year, then head on over and give that one a listen. Now, in this week's episode, I'll be talking about organization, and I talk about this a lot early on in the year to start off the year very organized. I am going to break it down and give you my top 10 tips on getting organized so you guys can run your business more efficiently.
Welcome to the Rescued and Upcycled podcast with weekly inspiration, tips on trying new techniques, and overall, real talk about owning your own DIY business. Now, here's your host, Sonnet Ullenbrock.
Welcome back to Rescued and Upcycled. I'm your host, Sonnet Ullenbrock. I want to thank you all for joining me on my podcast. Now, this is episode 43. And if you guys are new here, I do interview creatives and small business owners like every other week. And I just love talking about all things business. Now, this year, I'm going to add a little bit more into the back end of like DIYing and just more insight into home decor and things like that as well. So if you missed last week, I kind of dove into that a little bit and where I see my podcast going. But again, I love talking about things business and give you guys a lot of tips and tricks. Now, I'm hoping I've been inspiring you along with my guest hosts. Each time I have a new guest on, you guys, I learn so much about them and I learn so much from them. So I'm hoping that they are inspiring you and you guys are getting a little bit more knowledge from them as well. So this week, in today's episode, like I said, I'm talking about organization. And I want to give you some top tips. And I kind of broke it down into 10 areas. And honestly, I'm like, as I was doing it, I'm like adding more tips. I'm like, no, Sonnet, you said top 10. But there are so many tips like within those tips. So we'll be breaking it down. And this is really going to help you guys run a more efficient business or just a more efficient life in general. Like if you think about it, like why is organization so important? Honestly, you guys, think about it. By being more organized, it's going to boost your productivity. When every item has a place, you spend less time looking for things and more time getting things done. And it just helps you concentrate when your space is much more organized as well, doesn't it? I mean, like if you think about it, it really ignites creativity. Having a clutter free space encourages a clear mind and just allows you, to think freely and just come up with new ideas without the mental distractions of clutter around you. And it just helps you make better decisions. I feel like it kind of goes back to, ignites creativity. It really does help you make better decisions when you're not thinking about everything that is around you as well. And you guys think about it. It may strengthen your relationships within your family. So, if you have a less cluttered or more organized home and space, it's going to actually help the relationships with those that you live with. The joke is, does your husband truly need a kitchen table? And we are definitely working on that one. I use it for projects, but I am trying to keep the kitchen to kitchen related doings versus my projects always out there. It reduces your stress. Clutter often leads to overwhelm, and a tidy space gives you, a sense of control and helps you reduce your anxiety. And it just really creates a calming environment. And then it really does give you a better work life balance. It just brings you a much more healthy lifestyle, a place that stays clean. Just really, your personal habits leads to just a healthier physical and mental lifestyle, you guys. So it's going to just help you have a better work life balance. And then it really does unlock the potential for growth and success. So, the time spent in search to find specific items, that really adds up, you guys. So with being organized, just think of all that extra time you are going to be able to put into coming up with ideas for growth of your business and, just be more successful. So if those are just if you think about it, that is just the tip of the iceberg of why you want to be organized. But honestly, you guys, like I truly believe that you should tackle one space a year. So my very first tip of the year is start off the year with an organizational challenge. And I think this is so important. I've done this the last 3 years with my membership group and I partook in it and I have tackled some really big areas each year I have. And this year I am tackling another one. But if you don't have a group like that, grab some friends and hold each other accountable. I mean, if you have the strength to do it on your own, definitely do it on your own as well. But honestly, challenge yourself to have it organized within 30 days. So, what we do is we all pick an area and to really hold ourselves accountable, we take the before photos and we take the after photos. The before photos can be a bit cringy and give you that anxiety and you're embarrassed to show off that space, but that's okay. It is going to hold you more accountable in the end so you can show them the after and what you've accomplished. Plus, you have reclaimed a space. So, last year, I challenged myself to clean out the basement space that has been my catch-all. Guys, I went down there and I was like, "I don't even know what's in here." Every time I didn't know what to do with something, I was like, "I'll just put it in the basement." And, by the end, it was so packed full, I couldn't even get to the things on one side of the basement, and, it was, like, my area, and it started off where it was semi-organized, but then as time went on, I'm like, "Okay, I'm just gonna put it in the basement. I'm just gonna put it in the basement," and my 30-day challenge was I was going to remove everything from that area. So if you have the opportunity or the means to actually take everything out of the space and start fresh, that's truly like probably the best way to do it. So what I did is my neighbors honestly probably thought I was crazy. I literally set up, I went and I bought a bunch of clear totes, and I'm going to talk about why you want clear totes versus colored totes. But I laid them all out in the driveway and I one by one took every single item out of that space. And I organized it by type of like type of item. And in the end, it was, and then I started putting everything back. But that is truly what I recommend doing. Take everything out of the area if you can. If you can't, start in on one side of the room and then work your way to the other. So I've done it both ways because the year before, I was not able to do something like that or take everything out. But I started on one side and I was like, how am I going to use this space on this side? And I'm like, okay, I need a shelf here. And so then I figured out what shelf I wanted. I put that up and then I organized that. And then I continued to move across the room. And it worked out just beautifully as well if you don't have the ability to remove everything. Now, declutter, you guys, try to declutter as much as you can. Honestly, clutter equals chaos, you guys. And clutter is truly your enemy when it comes to creativity. When you have stuff everywhere, it can just feel so overwhelming. Do you like one thing you want to take a look at is as you're in your area and you're organizing is do you still need everything? No. Go through your items and get rid of the items that are taking up space or just not needed. It's funny because we met last night, my membership group, and I asked everybody, how's everybody doing? And one of my members, Tara, said, well, I've spent 10 hours on my space, like 7 hours the first day, another 3 hours. I think she said 10 or 12. And long story short, she's like, And in the end, I have taken roughly 10 truckloads back to Goodwill. And then I hear her husband in the background, 10 truckloads? I'm like, that is amazing. Like that she was able to take that much out of her space and think of all the space. And she said, now I have an area that is completely open, which allows me to organize more. And she said she no longer needed half of those items. The other part of that space was when she was taking her before photos, there was a whole area and there was a ton of boxes. And just think about boxes can be recycled. How much of that stuff in your area that you truly don't need? Is there garbage? Can you condense things? So, again, clutter such as boxes and things that are garbage, extra items that you just don't need, get rid of it. And then have a place for everything. So, that is another key area. Like by having a place for everything, again, you know exactly where it is. What I did, like when I did both of my areas where I organized, is I like would put all my scissors in one area, my tape in another area. And I know it seems simple, but so many times people have things everywhere, and there's not truly a home for that item. So I have created homes for all of my items in all of my areas that I've already organized. But yes, and then again, have you ever needed an item and you can't find it? I literally, when I was first organizing my craft room, for instance, I remember thinking, I have 50 scissors. I swear, 50 scissors, and I can't find one of them. Or like even in the garage when I'm looking for a tape measure, I'm like, I have 5 tape measures. Why can't I find them? Have a place for everything and put it back. So, the other tip, now we're on to tip number 4, you guys. Organize before you store. So, as you're going through, so like what I did, for instance, with the basement, when I was pulling everything out, I first took everything and put it into piles. Like, this is all my Christmas. This is all of this. And then I took like all the Christmas and I broke it down by, or like I organized that. So I put all the greenery in one area. I put all of, like the bulbs in another. I had everything organized by tote that way. And so then I'm able to take all those bins and store them. And then because it's in a clear bin, and that's my next tip, is clear bins are an absolute must, you guys. You can then quickly, at a glance, even if there's a label on it and it's not clear, you are always like, well, I wonder what color bulbs are in there. Um, what kind of bulbs did I buy? Like to upcycle or what have you. When it's in a clear bin, oh my gosh, that's the bin I want. I can see like whatever type of ornament in it. It just makes it so much easier. So honestly, if I had to choose between clear bins and colored bins, I would go with the clear, you guys. And then, like I said, organize them by category. So like by Christmas, fall, up like things that need to be upcycled. Put all of your rolling pins in one. Put all of your like have everything like all the liked items in each of those bins. And once you do that, it creates so much more organization in your life. Plus, it is great when I walk into my storage area. I do have a storage unit at this time, and I just walk in and I can see everything. Like, I know, like, this is all my Christmas. So, like, at Christmas, I was able to pull out all those bins and determine what I wanted to put in my booths and what I didn't. It's going to be great for spring because I also have spring bins, you guys. And I also have all my greenery. I have them separated into specific, like, this is my holiday greenery. This is my spring greenery. I have them all labeled that way as well. So, and that is another key thing is label everything. Put a label on it and at least try to say like what's in there. I mean, you're not going to be able to see every single item in there as you're looking through the clear, but at least have them labeled and so you know what's in there. Um, and, when you are organizing your areas here in your home, another thing is label things there too, because as you're pulling out like different containers, you can make things look pretty and yet they can be functional. So, number 6, you guys, vertical storage. It is key to any organization. Why have everything just laying flat? Think about how much vertical storage you can have. Yes, like I think so many times when I think of my husband. He's putting stuff in the garage and I'm like, "Why is everything laying flat on the ground? We need some, shelving unit here. We need to do this, we need to do that to, increase the storage up." And that is exactly what I did in my storage unit. I remember when I first got my storage unit, Jackie from Ruth and Ruby messaged me and said, "One tip I'm gonna give you is get shelving." And that was the best tip because she's like, "Don't put anything in without shelving because what's gonna happen is you're gonna get stuff in there, and then you're not gonna be able to get that storage or that shelving in there because you'll have so much stuff in there." And so the first thing I did is I bought a bunch of storage or like shelving, got the shelving up, and then because I had all my bins, all the clear bins available and already organized, I just slid them on the racks. And you guys, it feels so good. Now I know exactly where all that stuff is. Plus, I've reclaimed the entire space in my basement and I can use it for something completely different. Now, the other thing, as you're working on your areas, whatever you decide to work on, so let's say it's your craft area. Tip number 7 is group your hobby items together in your creative space. So, for instance, if you are a sewer or you have many crafts like I do or many hobbies, I do have an area just specifically set up for sewing. So I have everything I need in that area. Like I have my sewing machine. I have all of the fabric. I have everything in one specific area. And then in another area, I have all my jewelry making supplies, and then I have that all organized. In another area, I have my heat press and everything I need right at my fingertips next to my heat press. So everything is organized in a specific area. You don't want like you don't want your sewing machine like tucked away in another room in the basement. You want it near and dear to whatever you're working on. So that's one thing I do recommend is just make sure like all your items are in one area, or you don't want to go, "Oh gosh, where is my thread? Oh, where did I put that?" So having it all together makes it so much easier. Now, tip number 8, you guys, clean up after creating. I mean, this seems like so easy, right? Yeah, I'm going to clean up after I get done creating. But honestly, I am guilty. How many times do you walk away from creating and just leave everything as is? Yeah, like every time I finish a live, I'm exhausted and I just leave everything as is. But what I've been trying to do is in the morning, go in there and I put everything back. And I would definitely recommend doing that. So that makes you feel much more tidy and organized if once you're done crafting or creating, you put it back in the homes that you've just organized. All right, tip number 9, you guys. Now, not all of you are going to be thrifters, but some of you might go out and just shop. So, this really pertains to both of you. So, after thrifting, make sure once you bring your items in your home, you clean them, like wash them up or do what you need to do with them and then price them. So if they're ready to go into like your booth or you're going to put them on like Whatnot or however you sell that item, make sure you price it. So you're going to wash it up, clean it up, price it, and then you're going to put it somewhere. You're going to either put it in your booth, you're going to have it ready for your Whatnot sale, Or I have actually a staging area in my storage unit and I put it in the right staging area. So, is this an item that's for Christmas? I put it in my Christmas area. If it's for fall, I put it in fall. Or if it's for an upcoming booth flip, I put it in that area. Or is it an item that you're going to just upcycle? Still have like a price on it. So you know when you, after you upcycle it, that you know how much you paid for it so that you can figure that into your pricing of your upcycle. Now, this I think is extremely key to keeping organized because so many times, you guys, I get so overwhelmed when it comes to pricing and getting something ready for my booth. Like I'm like, okay, I have all this stuff. Now I have to wash it all. Now I have to price it all. And it just becomes so overwhelming. And if you can have a lot of this done as you go, it makes things so easy to just pick and choose what you want to put into your booth. So that is a tip for thrifting. Now, when you're shopping, and you're getting ready to create and you've gotten all these items, don't just leave them in the bags, you guys. Actually put them away. So, one thing when I did my deep clean of my basement area, I found so much stuff still in bags and only buy what you need because I'm sure a lot of you fall into this same pattern, but a lot of times, like at the dollar store, if there was an item there and I'm like, what if it's gone? And a lot of times it is at the dollar store. So I think that's why I have that whole like mentality of buying it all and not sharing because I would buy just what I need and then it would be gone. But now I overbuy. So maybe buy what you need and then buy a couple extra versus buy it all. That's another tip. But then put it away where it belongs. So if you are buying things for spring and you don't use them all for whatever project, put it away right away. Don't just leave it in the bag or leave it wherever. Organize it right away. So those are my tips for the thrifter or just the shopper in general. And then my final tip to really being organized in your business, guys, is create a weekly schedule and have a to-do list. And this has been so key. I always, at the beginning of the year, lay it all out. I come up with a game plan of how I want or where I want my business to go throughout the year. What do I want to accomplish each month? And I lay those out. And then I have my to-do list of, this week, I'm going to take my podcast or this day I'm going to, you know, tape my YouTube video, have it all laid out so that, and like even slot in like create time, thrifting time, or what have you, but have it all laid out on a weekly schedule. And you can get so much more in versus just like meandering through life and not knowing what you're going to do day to day for your business. So, I hope that that has inspired you to be just a little bit more organized, and just take it step by step. And just like I said, pick an area, like at least one area at the beginning of the year and really organize it. It is going to make you feel so much better. So, I am actually going to be organizing a space and I'll probably be bringing you guys along for that during a video or something like that. So be watching for that over on my YouTube channel. But so next week, you guys, in next week's episode of my podcast, I am going to be chatting about easy and inexpensive ways to update a room, but and also giving it a big impact. Now, you guys may have heard I'm going to be just changing up my YouTube channel a bit, and I am going to be showcasing some home DIYs. So I want to talk about that next week as well The very first room I'm going to be tackling in my home is my primary bedroom, which I used to call my master bedroom, which I found out is no longer the proper name. But I am going to be tackling that room and I'm going to be doing several different projects to add character to my home. And I'm going to be doing it cost effectively. We're going to DIY all of it. And I'm super excited to bring you guys along that journey. But I want to give you my tips that I'm going to be doing to my bedroom to really give it a big impact by updating it. And we're going to do it inexpensively. So I hope you guys join me for that one. And if you guys are listening on any of the podcast platforms, do not forget to rate, review, and subscribe. And if you're watching over on YouTube, again, give me a thumbs up. Let me know, you guys, what you think about the podcast in the comments. And definitely be sharing it so other DIYers and creatives find out about it. Now, you can also find me over on Instagram and Facebook at Sonnets Garden Blooms. At Sonnets Garden Blooms. And I do post a ton more content over there. So I hope you've enjoyed today's episode and we'll see you next week. Bye.